Thank you, Laura. We actually had introduced them at the beginning when we lost you. So I will do a quick introduction, probably for those who might have joined after we had already started. Gerard is our project manager. He has been the one presenting the session, and he oversees the delivery of projects in this region. George Skamutus is our pre-sales lead, and he sits in Athens. Then we have Rosemary Karachi. She's our business development manager, sits in Nairobi, Kenya, looking after the region. And then, of course, Wilson Asena, who is our head of SaaS and operations within the SaaS environment, and sits in Nairobi, Kenya as well. And I am the CEO of the subsidiary. So yes, welcome.
Thank you, Wambui. I just ask Felix to put up the poll results. And maybe we can start with those we haven't heard from. So the first poll was, how many of you are thinking of enhancing your digital channels in the next 12 months? So who would like to take that first besides Gerald and Wambui? So 16% are thinking of enhancing. I mean, 17% are still discussing.
Yeah, Rosemary, maybe you can speak into the channels. It's an interesting poll. Yeah, 70% are thinking of enhancing. I think everybody is realizing that with the digital channels, this is where, this is a game changer. So, Rosemary?
Yeah, thanks, Wambui, and thanks all for participating. Yeah, basically, this is very impressive to just see that the sector has realized that, yes, even with the core banking system does not increase your members. Technology has changed, has gone to a level where the members are looking for convenience, for services at their doorsteps. They want to transact from the comfort of their homes, and therefore embracing the digital channels does not only give convenience, it also grows the membership, it grows revenue, and it also contributes in retention. We've realized that in the sector, in the past, competition has really grown. In the last 3 or so years, we are realizing that majority of Sacco members are also banked with other commercial banks. And the reason why they are multi-banked, you'd realize it's because they get one channel with their Sacco, then they get the other 3 channels with a commercial bank. And therefore they end up being multi-banked. And the strategy for Saccos basically to retain these members and to grow their deposits and to offer value is to embrace digital channels. With a mobile channel, your member will be able to push in deposits. They'll be able to pull out their withdrawals. They'll be able to repay their loans. They can also participate in other, services, banking services, ideally the services that are offered with commercial banks. For instance, we've realized that many members are also in business. They are business people. They will be looking at services like trade finance, treasury solutions. If a member, for instance, would want to start a purchase order for, say, a tractor or something, they need trade finance services. And for this kind of services, members have been going to commercial banks to get them. But with digital channels, a member can basically apply for a trade finance services, say a bid bond or a bid security or a performance bond with the channels without even visiting the branch, and they get the same services that they would ideally get from a commercial bank. So the key here is, with the competition, the sector has no option but to embrace digital channels. Thanks. Back to you.
Anybody else want to add something, maybe?
Yeah, I wanted just a comment in a couple of seconds. What I wanted to add on what Rosemary has said is that you realize that digital channels are the one driving the non-funded income, especially even for commercial banks. And this is an area where Sacco sector, the key industry players, the Sacco sector should look at, in the sense that most of the members are now looking at having solutions at the comfort of their seat or at the comfort of their home. We are looking at this COVID-19 situation. People are working from home, and people would also want to do banking at the comfort of their seat. So this is just an avenue where the SACCOs themselves can actually get an unfunded income and not just rely on loans, income from, interest income from loans, because some of them are now being restructured, and now the money that is coming in from interest income is now being pushed to a longer period. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilson. Wambo, you want to say something? Or
No,
you okay?
no, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, Felix, please put up the next poll. Okay. So how many of you are thinking of changing your core banking system in the next 12 months? So 17% are thinking to change, 46% want to remain with the same system, and 38% are still discussing. These are very interesting numbers. So there's comments from INTRASOFT.
Yes, let me speak to that, Laura. They're interesting numbers, but they're not surprising. They're not surprising because core banking systems are not, systems that you just wake up and you change tomorrow. There are implications, in terms of, having the budgets to do this. Implications of, making a decision whether you want to go on-prem and therefore the infrastructure that you need to invest, or whether you want to go software as a service, you want to go to cloud, and then if you combine all, this complexity of, costs and then the infrastructure and even working through the mindset, the change of mindset in terms of, moving from a non-core banking environment to a core banking environment, it's a journey. So it's a journey that has to begin from somewhere. It might take a year or two for some SACCOs to decide to make the leap. But it definitely speaks to what is actually happening in the sector. So the numbers are actually not peculiar, and it's just interesting to know that some SACCOs have already started the journey and others are thinking of doing the same.
Okay, anybody else want to add something there?
Maybe I can comment as well on this.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Wilson or Gerard?
Yeah.
Okay,
Gerard.
Gerard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for this poll, actually, and I was expecting this, we brought in this poll before we went through the presentation, and my aim was to convert. Now the people are still thinking, and the people are still discussing, and the people want to remain with the same system, to now move to the core banking system. So we ran this poll at the beginning, and I can see for the second poll in terms of digital channels, which we run at the very end, I can see in terms of now the shift, the people want to change to channels. So what I'm now hoping after this session, after all the information that we've been able to discuss today about the benefits of the core banking system, not just to your SACCO organization, but also to your members, that will have a lot of changes, Max, because transformation starts with you. And what we say is if you do not disrupt yourself, you'll be disrupted. And disruptors do not actually play on your game and defeat you. They actually change the rules, and they change the rules, and you'll be left there basically being stale or obsolete. So it's a good insight, and we are hoping as we go forward now, we'll have a mindset shift. As Wambo has mentioned, the core banking system is not just a decision you make in a day. It's something that you actually have to think through. It's something that you have to engage all the stakeholders. But we hope as we continue, more and more of the team members here will starting this journey, and will embrace the benefits that the core banking system will actually give to them. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Gerard. So, it's very interesting you brought up the word disruption. The two big things that I keep hearing now, time and time again, is disruption and security. And the third one, of course, fourth industrial revolution. And technology has no mercy. It disrupts you and it moves very fast. So it's important that you brought up the issue of disruption so that, those of us who are in attendance do realize the importance of embracing and adapting very fast with the solutions that are available from a technology perspective to service our customers. Now, we have one question from Stephen Muriuki, and I just see another one from Jared. So we'll start with Stephen. So ATM and POS services for SACCOs are majorly in partnerships with banks, since we can't afford this very expensive infrastructure. Banks have frustrated us time and time again. How would you say we can approach that area of alternative banking channels? Which one of you would like to take that question before we move on to Jared's question?
Yeah, it's a good question. We know the SACCOs currently are on that shared platform. And I think what we'd like to say is that, you know, the sector has power. The sector has the numbers. If you are, the SACCOs are hosted by, say, the main bank of SACCOs, Cooperative Bank. It's time that the sector came together and, you know, went to the sponsor and negotiated for transaction. I mean, for revenues that make sense. That would be the best way, because we cannot say that the SACCOs start investing in their own infrastructures. It would be very costly, especially for the small SACCOs. So the option of shared platform is a good thing. But the discussions that need to happen is on the commissions that the SACCOs take home, considering that they own the member, they service this member, and this can happen. Believe you me, the numbers are big. The SACCO sector is huge in Kenya. You just need to come together and just start that discussion and see, and the value will come. Once you negotiate for good revenues from those services, it can happen, because these numbers are actually keeping the bankers, the bankers of SACCOs going. I would push it to Wilson to comment.
Just to add on what Rosemary has said, it's a good conversation in terms of having digital channels at a cost-effective template, because you look at most of the institutions, how they have integrated their channels and digital channels to the other systems, and you realize that when it comes to having digital channels in the SACCO space, most of the SACCOs, I know they've suffered a lot, because you find sometimes the person offering the channels and the person offering the core banking, they are not at a level where they can integrate seamlessly. So with our solutions, we are able to integrate the solutions, and at a cheaper or affordable pricing model, whereby we can put you even on a shared platform that you can just plug in and be able to serve your members effectively.
All right, thank you, Rosemary and Wilson. We'll go to Jared's question now. So he's very happy with the presentation. Well done to you, Jared. So he's asking, how can we mitigate the key risks as a result of COVID and ensure sustainability?
So I'll take on that. As you mentioned, how can we mitigate the key risks? So the key risk around COVID, especially as I've mentioned, is loss of revenue to members, so loss of income. That's one. Two is, as I mentioned, some temporary closures of the branches. Three is in terms of member withdrawal. So you'll find that members are lacking a lot of income elsewhere, and they'll start to come for their deposits which they have in the SACCOs. And four is on the loans, in terms of members not willing to take on long-term loans and not being able to repay on time. So as I've mentioned, and I think I've captured on some of these items. So in terms of deposits, the only option you have is to innovate, because if you are competing with banks for the little amount that members have, you'll rather be top of mind to that member. So you'll rather have a channel that the member can easily deposit that money and always ensure it's safe. So in terms of innovation, in terms of deposits, introducing multiple channels in which they can deposit, and also ensuring that the money is retained by offering a lot of transactions which members can do, and therefore they do not withdraw. In terms of loans, it's having the ability to restructure. For some genuine members who honestly do not have the ability to repay, being able to have the flexibility to restructure the loan as it goes. It should not be a very complicated process, and that's why the Profit Core Banking System offers you out-of-box ability to manage those loans. And the third one is around the recovery. So you'll find that, yes, members are not willing to pay on time, but you'll find the same members will prioritize, for example, other avenues. So it's being able to do automated recovery of loans, which will ensure your position as well in terms of non-performing loans is not compromised. So I'll say those are the key things that you need to have in mind as you do that.
Okay, great. We have another question here from Harrison. Harrison wants to know, does the Profit Core Banking come with integrated CRM and DMS?
Maybe I can also answer that because I'm here. Yes, it does. We have what we call a loan and member origination system, which we call iApply, which has an inbuilt DMS. So it manages the workflow. So our implementation includes both the CRM aspects of the Sacco and also the document management aspects through the iApply. But maybe I can also, I think George has not, he can also speak a bit on this.
Hello from me as well. Yes, I agree with Gerald, but we also extend this workflow capability within the branch, within the users of the Sacco or a commercial bank. I mean, we have this workflow for higher authorization for transactions, so we can set up rules in order to set up things like a teller or a cashier cannot continue with the transaction until a higher authority person gives his go-ahead. So all this is performed electronically within the branch through the workflow of profits. Now, if I can go back a bit and discuss about COVID, we have to think beyond COVID. We believe that next year we are going to have the vaccine. Things with COVID are going to be forgotten, but technology is here to stay, and we have to expand our business using the technology. Alternative channels is one thing, yes, but the other thing is that we cannot have these channels operating in silos. We cannot have a different internet banking from a mobile banking from agents. All this should be based upon omni-channel architecture through which the bank or the Sacco can understand what their customers need and what their customers use more frequently. And you cannot have alternative channels if you don't have a robust and flexible core banking system. This is what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Gerard. Now, we have a minute to go, but we have one last question, which I'm sure the audience would like an answer to. Before we close, they can give us an extra 3 to 5 minutes, and then we can close. So this is a very interesting question from Esther. And you know, I always say we make assumptions that everybody is tech savvy. So Esther is asking, what can you advise on the problem of members not leveraging the digital channels available to them and instead continue visiting the offices for inquiries, transactions? You know, those Sacco members who are elderly. How do we deal with this issue?
Yes, I would say to Esther, yes, we hear her, and it's actually a journey. And I give an example of when M-Pesa came into the market. You know, we didn't see our grandmothers going to school to be to be taught how to receive an M-Pesa message and to read and to know how much their sons and daughters have sent to them. So I think there's no option. Disruption is here, and the Saccos have to embrace technology. So it's upon us as the Saccos now to walk this journey with our members. Let's encourage these grandfathers and grandfathers when they visit the branch. We just sort of educate them and encourage them next time. You know, the same way you use your mobile phone to receive money from your son from abroad, you can use it this way. You can dial *123 and get some, you know, it's a journey. It's not going to happen one day, but it can start somewhere, because a time will come when we'll have actually no need of having brick and mortar branches. And this is coming. And it will not mean that at that point, then you will say we cannot bank the elderly. So I would say from where I sit, it's a journey. We need to educate. It's member education, slowly by slowly, and you'll see it bear fruits. Thanks.
Interesting perspective as well. And just borrowing from what Rosemary has said, the members on the Sacco are actually the same members who are actually using M-Pesa or using mobile banking or using mobile money, for example. So to be able to encourage them to move to mobile, it's mainly around giving them use cases, giving them a reason to. So if somebody will know every time I go to mobile, I have a variety of services available, they'll always be encouraged. And I like to say, and as George said, we need to think beyond COVID, but COVID has brought an opportunity whereby now more members are willing to embrace digital channels. So, but if they go there and they only find balance inquiry, or they only find mini statement, they do not find, they cannot pay their power bills, they cannot transfer money, they cannot do a lot of these things. So it's all about, if you give a lot of use cases, you encourage what we call stickiness. So it means if I do something today and I like it, tomorrow I'll be more willing to come. So it's all about giving them all these use cases during this time. And for sure, once they see the benefit, they'll continue to come and make use of those channels. Thank you.
And if I may add, through profits, we have the ability to set up different pricing policy per transaction, per channel, per customer category. So if you are talking about encouraging the senior citizens to use mobile banking, and I agree with Gerald, you should have some, bonuses, like a different pricing policy, smaller commissions, things like that. We have this capability of setting up pricing policy per channel, per customer category, senior citizen, etc. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if I can just conclude on that question, Laura, that Esther has asked. We also talk about, you have to look at the demographics and where, and the trends. What are the trends that we're seeing? If you look at 2019 report for Communications Authority, I believe it was December 2018, they said Kenya has now attained 100%, I think 101% in terms of mobile penetration, meaning almost everybody in Kenya does have a gadget. Of course, we know there's some people who have more than one. That number has been driven because some people have more than one mobile gadget. But if you look at the trends, you'll find that SACCOs are increasingly having to deal with millennials, the younger generation, and whereas the demographic was, majority of the people, a few years ago, the elderly, that curve is shifting. And the trend is it'll reach a stage where you'll actually find that everybody is really on the gadget. So I think what we just need to do is to continue selling value, enhance the customer experience for every demographic in our member member space, and give them incentives, like George is saying. Our system is able to give incentives for every channel that is being used, every product, and so on. But it is a challenge, Esther, and I wish you all the best in that. So probably as I conclude, I would just want to say, first of all, very grateful for every person who has joined this webinar. What we have done as INTRASOFT is really focus on bringing solutions that are relevant to the Sacco sector. And you will realize we are, looking ahead, not just coming in as a transactional partner in the Sacco sector. We want to add value. We really have taken time to study in the last few years to create a core banking system that really is meeting the current and future needs of the Sacco as they find themselves in this financial services space. And so what I want to assure everybody who's gone in is continue to engage with us. We do have solutions. We are listening to what the sector is saying. We're watching the space. We're watching the discussions. around managed services versus all the other initiatives that the SASRA is also proposing for the sector. But we do have a solution that we know will add value, and so we encourage you to engage with us. The numbers were on the last slide. If you can put the slide up that Gerard had shared, so that people can be able to engage with us even after this session. So thank you very much, and we hope it was of great value to you, and we wish you a great afternoon.